Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Newsflash. As you may have guessed, we are still struggling on getting a brand new theme after in an attempt to, of course, expand some storage space on my computer. I deleted the theme that we had before, but we will give you now just because we need to. I'm going to give you the rundown on for today's show. First, we're going to be talking about what's next for the stimulus package. We're also going to be talking about the UI benefit fight. We'll give you the case against unconscious bias training from Jacobin, and two stories today for you about how the Obamas have become annoying podcasters instead of annoying former president and first lady. Number 5, British libel law insanity, and number 6, a possible TikTok deal. So those 4 and 5 stories are from our YouTube channel. If you want to get more access to our YouTube channel, and you want to get those stories first, well, all you got to do is subscribe. It's totally free. Just go in there and go check it out. All right. So here's the latest right now on the Trump administration, and they're apparently examining options for unilateral actions if it can take to try to address some economic fallout, which I think probably would be good for him politically. It's kind of insane that we go exactly to that, just because I still also don't really think people have fully processed the amount of economic insanity, the amount of economic hardship that could be coming people's way if things just aren't changed. But of course, maybe it's just my brain poison, but about how I'm just immediately taking this to like the political side of things, but yeah, we should not be ignoring the fact that that what Trump is going to try to do here is likely going to be a big problem. Again, I apologize for the static there. But if the discussions are a reflection of officials' increasingly pessimistic outlook for talks on Capitol Hill, the White House remains in close contact with Democratic leaders, but a wide gulf remains, and deadlines have already been missed. For example, on the last show, I was low-key just freaking out about the unemployment insurance. I was like, to the fact that, it's like people don't realize the unemployment insurance is like literally, it's about to expire. It is about to expire, it already has expired. I think it did expire actually by the time we did the last show. But the fact is, even if they didn't address it, which obviously they didn't, they were on a 3-day weekend last Friday by the time we were already on the air. But and that they just came back from, and they're about to go back to the Senate to work on this in about a few hours from now. But like people are just not just. It's insane to me the fact that like. There is clearly like an economic crisis playing out right in front of our very eyes here, and just the response to it has just been like, we'll see about what we can do about that. It's just absolutely insane. So yeah, we are live today. We're having some technical difficulties, so we will be back in just 46 seconds. Just keep listening. It's the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Anyway, so yeah, that should be hopefully, again, most of our technical side of things solved here. But yeah, so we're back to talking about these discussions. They're a reflection of officials' increasingly pessimistic outlook for talks on Capitol Hill. So the White House, they remain in close contact, but again, these deadlines, they have already been missed. People are already going to be set up for really just economic hardship that's going to be coming their way in the very near future. It's not clear what steps the administration could take without the help of Congress on issues that have lapsed, such as enhanced employment benefits or expired moratorium on evictions, two matters that President Trump has recently identified as his highest priorities in the ongoing talks, which really should be, because those are really kind of the two biggest issues right now, and they're deeply linked, because people have to obviously pay their rents with the first of the month, and the fact that evictions could still very well continue to happen. And I think the fact that there is no eviction moratorium, and I think if Trump is at all serious about like winning this next election, I mean, I think anything he can do, he should be out everywhere and saying we need to establish an eviction moratorium. This is just ridiculous. Like screw the rest of his party. If the rest of his party doesn't like it, that's too bad. But like I think if you are not seriously talking about like getting rid of, like, you have no place in politics. Like, you just don't understand the current situation. If you're not seriously thinking about, or unless you're like a psychopathic landlord, of course you would want to keep the eviction standards then. But if you are serious about like winning elections in the future and are not talking about evictions and suspending evictions, because just the amount of people that will be affected if evictions do go, like if restart again, it would be like 15% of the country. 40 million people at least would be evicted because they A, lost their jobs, and B, their only source of real income, which was these unemployment benefits, are now gone. So, like, that is going to produce massive economic chaos in a scale that we have never even come close to seeing before in our lives. So throughout his presidency, Trump has pushed the boundaries on executive powers, such as declaring a national emergency at the U.S.-Mexico border, that he said would allow him to redirect Pentagon money to build his wall. An administration also has been aggressive in attempting to reprogram money by trying to move it from one account to another without congressional approval. The two people spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive talks. For the White House's strategy in negotiations have shifted multiple times in the past few weeks. Democrats passed a $3 trillion package in May that included an extension of unemployment benefits, new stimulus checks, aids for states and localities. Pretty much it's not by any means radical, but it's what any sensible person would have done in a crisis like this. But it has not been really brought up by the Senate. The White House expressed opposition to that bill and again did not begin negotiations with Democrats until recently. Huge mistake there as well. Again, giving a message to people that we don't give a crap. We don't care. We'll start negotiations like 2 weeks before the thing's about to expire, knowing how long these things take. It's again, A, it's like they've never been in government before. B, it's like they don't care. It also took the White House much longer than expected to broker a unified Republican proposal with the Senate GOP after blowback on several of the White House's ideas. A big fraction point along that was the payroll tax cut. The possible new White House tactics comes even as talks continue between top Trump Republican emissaries and congressional Democrats. But because Republicans decided to negotiate over the summer, the talks only started in earnest last week, and the two sides remain far apart. Democrats are holding out for a $3 trillion bill that would address an array of health care and economic needs, while Trump administration officials have been pushing for a stopgap bill that would just address a handful of issues, including expired unemployment benefits and evictions. Like, honestly, I think if you're the Democrats and I think what you do about those key issues like unemployment and evictions is very, very important. But if that's all you can get at the time right now, I mean, I think you got to take it. We are dealing with a crisis that is just completely out of hand. And if you do get meaningful pushes, meaningful reforms, meaningful concessions, and really hold strong on these issues, I think it's definitely forgivable if you don't address all things with aids for states and localities and the other things that obviously need to be there, but the Republicans aren't for. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an update on where things stand in Congress. What we are doing now is we're going to move on to Steve Mnuchin. He recycled a debunked right-wing talking point to justify the GOP's proposal to cut more than half of the $600 per week federal boost in unemployment benefits that expired at the end of last week, depriving around $30 million Americans a key economic lifeline as joblessness remains at historic levels. And again, through no fault of the American worker, right? So they're getting punished while we see over and over again the billionaires, the millionaires, the top 1% are profiting off of this pandemic. So in an appearance in ABC's This Week, Mnuchin claimed there's no question the $600 weekly boost in unemployment insurance created a disincentive to work. Again, The disincentive to work was that nobody could work because they were fired and there's a pandemic. Like, that's what the disincentive, that's the only disincentive here. Like, again, and it's like, the fact that they're going around calling all these people lazy and like they don't want to work, they're being incentivized to not work, to not go back to their jobs, like they're just lazy moochers who just want to like go off of the government. It's just so deeply insulting considering the fact that how poorly and how out to lunch this administration has been this whole time. 150,000 Americans have died because of them. Like, 150,000 Americans have died because of them. And, again, also other government forces. But what Trump has done, and it will be a lot more when this time is finished, probably 100,000 more. Like, if we're just being realistic about what we see here, like, it's going to be such a devastating economic toll on so many people. And for these guys to be like, oh, well, the American workforce needs to be incentivized to come out and work. Like, otherwise people just aren't going to work. Like, F you. You haven't done any work while we're going through the most destructive crisis or multiple crises that our country has literally ever seen. And what work are you doing about it? What are you doing to change it? No, nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's insane. So, yeah, when host Martha Raddatz pointed out a recent Yale study that found no evidence that more generous benefits disincentivized work, Mnuchin responded, I went to Yale. I agree on certain things. I don't always agree. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what you think because it's a study. It's a scientific study. It's not for a matter of debate. Like, the only thing that's keeping people from back to work is, like, they're literally being fired. Like, does he not understand what's happening here? Yeah, 600 weekly payments amount to around what a worker would earn working 40 hours a week at a $15 an hour wage, which is a fair wage and a wage that should be paid. Like, the fact that, yes, some workers in some situations are working more is not a testament to, oh, these unemployment benefits are just creeping socialism. They're the fact that really our companies are disgusting, soul-sucking, life-sucking, just monsters and monstrous forces on American life that are depriving American workers of basic economic stability, security, and safety, even before the pandemic. So that's, I think, a big thing to talk about there. So Senate Republicans have proposed cutting the $600 weekly boost to $200, a $1,600 monthly benefit cut for tens of millions of people.
Offer was $200, not the $600 people have been receiving. That's a huge cut for people with mortgages and rent payments and trying to feed their families.
Well, there was a $600 offer for 1 week. I'm not going to make public comments, but Mark Meadows and I have made 3 or 4 different offers that deal with the enhanced unemployment. I think, as you said, Steny Hoyer and others understand that unemployment is supposed to be wage replacement, so it should be tied to some percentage of wages. The fact that we had a flat number was only an issue of an emergency where we had 30-year-old computer systems. So I think on the concept, we absolutely agree on enhanced unemployment. We want to fix the issue where in some cases people are overpaid, and we want to make sure there's the right incentives. But again, let me just emphasize, we put on the table a proposal.
I'll tell you who's overpaid. You're overpaid. And the story that's going to come out after this pandemic, and probably ones that are coming out, just blatant corruption by the Treasury Secretary, by other people in the Trump administration. Like, we've seen this. We've seen what Jared Kushner, we've seen what Donald Trump have done to personally enrich themselves all throughout this administration. And the gall for someone like Steve Mnuchin to come out and be like, yeah, American workers are overpaid. Like, this is why when people say, like, bring out the guillotines and stuff like that, I find that, like, relatively cringy. Like, I mean, come on. Like, this isn't the French Revolution, and it's, like, just kind of ridiculous. But it's just really just chilling. But it just some of the stuff he's saying, it makes me very sympathetic to that cause. Just like the fact that, again, Stephen Mnuchin, literally a direct quote. There are cases where Americans are being overpaid. Yeah, and again, there's a direct study that, of course, he talked about that Raddatz cited from Yale that says that obviously they're not going to be, because they want to go back to work.